I'd heard of this. I think they wanted it for 26. The NFL draft has been announced that it's going to Pittsburgh in 26.
Yes, Steel City.
Guess who's in the running for 27?
The Steelers could be getting the first pick in that draft in Pittsburgh.
Jeff, thanks for returning my nuts. From Nikki Jabvala, a delegation from the NFL visited D.C. last fall to assess the area's potential for hosting a future draft.
Yeah.
And the Commanders were among 12 teams with reps in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard they wanted 26, and then Pittsburgh got it. You got to figure 27 is on the...
Absolutely.
But, Doc, if I had to guess...
The mall? Where?
You do it on the mall.
Okay, yeah.
You set up the stage in front of the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe you go Washington Monument to the Capitol so you don't have... Like, they want the crowds, and with the reflecting pool right there, that impacts where the crowds can go.
It's important. And then I would also say in 2 years from now, because there's going to be a contingency that has to fight to try to get MGM Grand, that area that would reflect to the casinos and that body of water, that area.
You can make that look good.
Now, you talk about excitement that to me.
It should still be on the mall.
Well, I'm just saying you got to have a rival point.
Yeah. Well, I wonder,
because
Doc,
once you're on the mall, and that's a great look. Then what?
It's a lot easier to get to. You got public transportation. You can come in a million different directions.
Okay, then what?
Then
when you're over there in front of that MGM, the opportunity and idea of concept afterwards, before and afterwards, I just think.
But there are bars and restaurants and places to go. You could go take in a show at the Warner Theater.
Okay, in 2 years now, I'm saying.
But
Doc, 2 years.
I did the last draft. I worked the Philly draft, which was up by that museum. It's really scenic. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing immediately there, but this is the NFL, man. They bring their own infrastructure. They're selling beer. They're selling food. They're selling Pepsi. They'll have stuff to sell.
Yeah.
I do wonder this, though. I had heard there was some talk of getting this thing done for 2026. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not happening now. Now they're talking 2027. Mm-hmm. If you're the NFL and you bring the draft to town, what is that? I mean, that's 3 days of 100,000, probably more so the first 2 nights. Mm-hmm. Crowds, people. You bring that many people in, what do you get? Money, revenue. People are going to bars. People are paying parking tickets. People are buying gas. All that comes to your city courtesy of the NFL. Mm-hmm. If you're the NFL and you know you have this traveling road show that will make so much money for your city over a 3-day weekend and probably over the course of a week with all the infrastructure build outs and all the people that come in and all that stuff. And you know that there are some level of stadium negotiations going on. The draft sure seems like a carrot to get a stadium deal done if you consider the timelines everything's on. Now, we are waiting for the Senate to pass the legislation. Word is Joe Biden will sign it. Then the city's in charge. And the people that think the city part of this will be the easy part, I think are mistaken. I think there will be some serious hurdles. Not to say it can't get done, but you know what helps? Perhaps this is public. Perhaps this is a backroom conversation. Hey, I know you're concerned about the public funding for an NFL stadium. But we got this thing, the draft. You might not have heard of it. It's where college players get selected to their professional teams. And I'll Google it live on air. NFL draft economic impact.
Are you saying it could be the difference between a retractable and a non-retractable roof?
I'm saying in April of 2023, Kansas City, this is from kcsourcelink.com. In April 2023, Kansas City hosted the 2023 NFL Draft, and the event exceeded expectations when it came to its economic impact in Kansas City. According to Forbes, 312,000 people attended the 23 NFL Draft, and the event generated $164.3 million for Kansas City. So, in the off chance that there is a, what do we call him, council member? Council members on the D.C. board that is concerned about the funds going out. And the funds will be significant. Let's not pretend. But hey, not only do we know what this will bring in, but as a bonus, as a little sugar on top, we could get the draft here in 2 years. And you know what? If that was 300,000 people in Kansas City, where once you get outside of the city, it's pretty damn rural, what do you think it'll be here when Baltimore to Richmond's coming to town? Easy. That's a day drive.
Easy.
Charlestown, West Virginia, the DMWV.
Easy.
You're talking 500,000 people over 3 days.
Absolutely.
You're talking 250 million over 3 days. That sweetens the pot a
Can
little
you
bit.
imagine Mitchell's signing?
Oh, my God.
When he does the bobblehead, the Brian Mitchell bobblehead comes out that weekend.
Can you imagine BMitch would net 6 figures in appearance fees when the draft comes?
The bobblehead alone. I mean, once the technology, they're working on it right now, they're very close to being able to get it to where it actually works. They've not been able to match to keep it up. Yeah, but once they get that done, by then, it could be a game changer.
Game changer.
Game changer. It's very good that you figured that out.
I don't know nothing.
As soon as I heard Pittsburgh was awarded, I thought maybe I wasn't disappointed. I didn't know if we were politically ready for it yet. But now you bring it up 27, I go, oh, no, that would be aces. Interesting.
Interesting indeed.
Yeah.
The other part of it is 2026, 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Help me with the math on this, Landville. I believe I have it right. I believe July 4th, 2026 will be the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Pretty nice round number. 250,000 years. Like, we're celebrating. You might think that would make sense to be in Washington. Much like, Doc, there was a time where many people thought the 2026 U.S. Open golf would be played in Washington at a course west of the city. And for whatever reason that didn't happen, now all of a sudden that course west of the city ain't hosting U.S. Opens anymore. Something happened. I don't know why they didn't come here for 26, frankly. And it makes you wonder, maybe the infrastructure needed an extra year. But, Doc, they do have large events on that National Mall fairly regularly.
No, you sold me on that. I hope it's not a political issue. And that the last time there was a rather large event here, it wasn't managed quite properly.
That's a fair question.
So I think you have to bring that into. I think you have to mention it.
That's a very Now, there's been, I think, since those events, which were not managed properly, to say the least, I think we've had more big events. I know there have been some Gaza-Israel related stuff, major protests and stuff. The park service, the I don't know the interconnection from Events DC to the park service and all the people involved, but like they generally know what they're doing. And I think for something like the NFL draft, they could make this thing work. And I think it's pretty interesting that the NFL controls this event that could generate a couple $100 million for the city.
Yeah.
As things are unfolding, as the world turns, Doc.
Detroit, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Washington.
Just think about the size of those cities: Kansas City, Detroit, Green Bay, Pittsburgh.
Oh, seriously.
I imagine you could add Green Bay and Pittsburgh, add them up, and it's smaller than DC Metro. Point. And I almost wonder if you can add Detroit, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh, and it's smaller than DC Metro.
That's my point. In terms of interest, there were no people scheduling vacations around those other venues.
Right. Except for the sickos.
They've already been. If you're that sick, you've already been to Lambeau. And you've been to Steel City. And you had no interest in going to Detroit. This here, I think he hit something.